we're going to do a quick crash course on setting up a challenge for your event. If you haven't already taken a look at our Go Virtual Race Hub, I definitely recommend doing that. That is available at runsignup.com/govirtual. Here we cover some options to create a virtual race, a basic virtual race setup, which helps you to hide locations since it's a virtual race and can be completed anywhere, as well as some other beneficial options. So we'll get started with setting up our challenge, and that is under the Race Day Tools tab under Virtual/Challenge Results, and we'll click Configure Virtual Results. So here is going to be an example of creating a 200 miles of summer challenge. So we'll click Enable Virtual Results. We do recommend setting up bibs and automatic bib assignment, as well as making sure this is set up prior to any messages going out. There's some other cool features you can do with virtual, such as our digital bib feature as well. So because this is going to be a summer challenge, we're going to start accepting results on June 20th. And we're going to accept results all the way through the end of summer here, which is September 22nd. For this event, we will want to create a new result set, and that means there's a leaderboard for people completing in the 200 miles of summer. If you have multiple different events, there are alternate event submission options, and those are covered in the advanced virtual settings from our Challenge Hub website. If you do allow for teams, you can check the box for team results, and that will create a separate leaderboard of all the teams with their different tallies and times. So we do want to check the box, is this a challenge event? A challenge event means that participants can upload multiple activities and different days throughout the challenge. So we're going to click yes to enable that. And again, text options is not supported for challenge events, so you'll have to use email for communications or your website for information on virtual. So for each activity, what can a participant upload? I definitely recommend them submitting their time as they're going through logging their activities. And the leaderboard is going to be sorted by the greatest distance. That way, whoever is farthest along in our 200-mile challenge, we want them to appear at the top of the leaderboard, not just somebody who's only submitted 5 minutes worth of activity. So we want to check the box for a distance, and because this is a miles challenge, the tally type is going to be in miles. And we do have some other different options, whether it's number of laps or any type of distance types, and you can even set custom ranges where you can come up with whatever you wanted to do for your tally. So we'll go to miles. We also offer an elevation gain if you did a challenge on who's been able to climb the most steps, or basically go the highest to climbing a mountain, for example. The next option is going to be activity dates of when you can accept logging that activity. So normally this is going to be the same as your default starting range of the challenge, but there are some instances where you might want to not allow activities beyond certain dates. So for an example, we're matching the dates of it's a summer challenge, so you can accept all the way through the summer. But one scenario is, let's allow people up to a week after the summer is over to still submit any of their activities, but the only activities that would be allowed are those that were completed actually in the summertime. So in this example, we're allowing people to submit all the way through the end of September, but we're only going to allow them to log activities that were technically done in the summertime. So that's one example of why these dates may or may not match the submission time. And we wanted to sort results on who's competed the greatest distance, and then over that distance we'll do a time tiebreaker. The minimum and maximum allowed time, this is per activity type, so we could enforce people to do at least a minimum of 5 minutes of activity to get credit, and we can set a maximum of time, 6, 12 hours, whatever you wanted to do as far as to allow people to submit that single activity type. The next options here, we do recommend keeping with the default, but you do have the option to require race director approval for every single activity that was submitted. This can get a little monotonous if you have a challenge, especially over the whole summer, where you're constantly having to approve times, but it is an option. You can also allow participants to indicate that they completed a run or completed their activity but not provide an actual time. That can also be set up in the activity type area. And then the last option is strongly recommended to keep on, is to allow participants to quickly enter their time by just validating their email address or the last four of their phone number. So that way they are not forced to always log in to RunSignup in order to submit their activity. So we'll go ahead and click Save, and that is going to set up our virtual challenge. And you'll see we have some indicators here that we have set up a challenge for our event type. We're doing it in distance and miles in our result submission area. And we also don't require approval because we didn't check that box at the bottom, and we haven't set up a goal, and obviously texts are not supported for challenges. So we can click back into virtual results settings to go back in and make any changes to our submission types or any type of additional options at the bottom. Or we can start working our way from left to right to complete setting up the challenge. So we'll click on activity types, and this will allow the challenge to basically be customizable to what you want to allow them to submit. I definitely recommend at least one activity type. We have multiple options as run, ride, swim, walk, ski, paddle row, and even kind of custom designs. So you can have everybody compete in the same leaderboard for runners, walkers, bikers, or you can create multiple different events. So I can have a 200 miles of summer challenge for walkers, a separate one for runners, and a separate one for riders. And that kind of keeps people doing the same activity competing, because obviously you can ride a bike 200 miles faster than you can walk a bike. But you can do a custom, so you can do a run, walk, ride, and the run, walk, ride will be able to have everybody in the same leaderboard. So because we're doing distance in miles, that is the default for our activity type. And because it's a 200-mile challenge, we have 200 miles is going to be the max tally type. That means that people aren't going to be able to submit more than 200 miles to have somebody that wanted to do 300 miles to automatically be in the lead of a leaderboard or something like that. We have additional options here for the show field or activity total. That gives you separate options in your result set and on the individual results if you're having multiple activity types. Not necessarily recommended if you only have one activity type, but it does allow more information for the results to see who's done a run, who's done a walk, or who's done a ride, for things of that nature. This is where, again, you can require optional time entry. Because we're sorting on maximum distance, and then tiebreaker would be on time. If people haven't submitted time, then obviously they're not going to be to the front as somebody would have submitted time. So those are just some things to consider as far as what you want for your leaderboard and how you want the results to look. You can always come back in here to turn these splits on or off if needed. They require at least one activity type, and most of one activity type typically are involved for like a triathlon or maybe some sort of CrossFit challenge where you have to do at least one of your push-ups, some of your pull-ups, any different types of custom activities you can do. So we'll go ahead and keep this as a run, walk, ride so we can be inclusive to have everybody in the same leaderboard to achieve 200 miles. So we'll go ahead and click Save for that activity type. That brings us right back to our virtual results page, and the next would be our notification settings. So again, text message is disabled for challenges because you're doing multiple activity types, but this allows you to create a virtual race details page that allows people to see how they're going to submit results, and you can customize that. So you can even put in your own URL to go to your website. If you have a video like explaining your challenge or explaining how to submit results, you can include that as the default page as well. Or you can completely redirect people to your own custom page and skip the RunSignup results. So that's where you can enter your redirect URL. Some participant messaging, we have automatic messaging where you can put in the replacement tag, and the replacement tag will automatically show details of how to submit their results. There's also a replacement tag that shows the post results message, letting people know that it's the time to submit their results, with a link to direct submit their results. So again, this is optional, but you can set up the welcome challenge. So for this example, we want to welcome people on the first day of summer, so we're just going to put in the first day. And the default text is here. We do require you to put the replacement tag in if you are using the messaging, but you can completely customize this by adding an image here using the toolbar editor and kind of make the email look nice and professional by adding custom HTML if you needed to, or just adding additional information about your challenge. If you turn on the welcome message, you also are going to turn on the result submission instructions. So that can be later in that day if you wanted to, and that basically lets people know that, hey, they can go and submit results. So the default times are going to be 8 a.m. and that's the local time to the participant. It's not necessarily if you're in the East Coast time and you have somebody from the West Coast signing up, it's still going to submit these messages at 8 a.m. their local time. So that's just one thing to consider when setting these times that you want to submit results. So maybe we'll tell people to submit results later in the day, and we'll say at 3:05 p.m. is this next result will go out. We also have reminder messages, so throughout the summer if you wanted to allow different reminders, this is again completely customizable. So maybe we want to say a month into the challenge, we want to remind people if they haven't submitted any results yet, we can write a custom message and again include images for those people to remind them to go in and start logging their activity to get up to the 200 miles. There's also a secondary kind of flip side of that coin is people who have submitted results, we can offer them words of encouragement or training tips or whatever you wanted to do along the way just to kind of keep that engagement throughout the summer months for participants. And we have up to 3 separate reminders that you can set up. Again, these are all optional, but you can set these up to go out to your participants. So we'll go ahead and click cancel to get out of that. And the next option is the goals section. And so because it's a 200-mile challenge, then obviously the goal is 200 miles. So we want to make that the same goal for all participants. And what this does is it's going to create a progress option in your challenge to let people know the percentage they are along the way to completing their goal. We also want to show that goal progress bar on their individual results as well as the results page. There is an option to let participants define their own goals for any type of open-ended challenge if you wanted to do that. A really cool feature that I recommend everybody does for some sort of challenge is to display a map with a route and the progress on results. So we'll go ahead and click and choose our file here, and this will load up our documents folder. And we'll upload a KML file and save the page. And so when we click on our goals tab, we have a 200-mile course that now will plot participants as they go throughout the challenge. That's a really nice thing to add to the results section. And the last option is our details. Again, this is completely optional, but you can provide additional instructions during the registration process to kind of encourage people to let them know what they're signing up for, why they should opt into your email messaging if you have that, and things of that nature, as well as a results upload instructions section to show people how to upload results, the different options that they can do for results and things like that. We also have a written guide for that under runsignup.com/challenge platform. Under the setup guide, you can see where you can look at the details section where you can add into registration instructions and even add upload instructions that you wanted to do for your challenge. And so that's basically it for setting up your challenge.